Disinformation is destructive. Fake news buries the facts and distorts the truth. Disinformation deceives the public and manipulates debate. What can journalists and activists do to fight back against false narratives? The four partners in the EU project S-Info, Sustainable Information, held 3 online debates in search of answers. The third debate was about the false narratives that keep organized crime and corruption in the shadows, hidden away from the light of public awareness. Special guests discussed how activists and journalists could counteract such disinformation.
Fighting back, everyone who's doing their reporting, everyone who's doing their campaigning is fighting back. It's the extent of the effectiveness that is in question. The only antidote I'm aware of for a lie is the truth, but that's commonplace, right? That's obvious. Why isn't the truth self-evident? I think clearly we are missing something, which is a sense of citizenship, which gives you an entitlement to the truth, an entitlement to information about what people in power are up to, about the infiltration of crime and criminal interests. But instead, what you have as well is the romanticization of crime and sharing with you the Maltese experience. You saw those people screaming out in the square, supporting a politician who's facing trial in court. What you have is the romanticization of corruption. It's admired. Because those are wise guys. So it's also a values problem that we're missing, a cultural problem, a democratic cultural problem that we have.
The things that we should do collectively as civil society activists, journalists, is repetition. I think if we repeat as many times as possible the narratives that we have facts for, so person X or company X is corrupt, or voter fraud or corruption in general, and so on. I think repetition is very important, because if we get to a stage like in Hungary, where Fidesz controls 95% of funding and the budget for the media, basically, even if you have like a case, an investigative case, or proof of corruption, it's impossible to dilute it in the wider public. If a malign actor beat a national government or private organizations control the means of communication, basically it doesn't matter how good your investigation is if you cannot relay the message to the wider public. That's why I think social media, on the one hand, it's important, because it's not controlled by a national organization or government, but also other classic means of communication. In one of our reports regarding disinformation, albeit focused on Russia and the war in Ukraine, one of the conclusions, the findings, was that even though social media, which was the medium where we made our research, is obviously important, television is also as important. A lot of people, segments of the population, get their news, their information from television. So again, controlling some means of communication in television, social media, to repeat anti-corruption narratives, I think it's important.
Certainly in these times where you have such huge polarization between no, I'm right, no, you're wrong, no, it's media literacy, but also handing over to your readers and to the greater public, and especially to the younger generations, the tools to critically analyze, for instance, those information campaigns, but also disinformation campaigns, but also to teach them to ask the right questions, the critical questions. So I think that's an important thing when journalists, and they do this already, of course, they ask these critical questions, but maybe through certain campaigns in which to explicitly ask certain questions that people should ask themselves and come up with the answers themselves. So they recognize certain things in their environment, in their closer environment, maybe that might make them more aware of the bigger picture as well.
The anti-corruption culture, anti-mafia culture in Italy, on one hand, I believe that it worked very well in some territories in the sense of activating the population in civil society organization, like you mentioned before, Anti-Pizzo movement, and this shows how important is to foster an information like a journalism that actually can activate people and not making them feel as everything is so big and complex and that we are just passive recipients of information, but also like to share lights on what can be done and what is actually done in order to fight this phenomenon. And so we get back to the collaboration between journalists and activists, as I believe that one problem, as also Sarah pointed out, is the problem of discerning information of quality and like information actually providing and benefits for some interest. This is very difficult, but also like this overwhelming amount of information makes it difficult to emerge, especially for young and new investigative journalists competing with like big mainstream media companies. And I believe that with the collaboration with journalists, precisely this can be in a sense counterbalanced, because activists can first be like a source of information on the ground too, on the matter of maybe we will delve into the issue later, but of course activists are as they are grassrooted, they can be also like a source of information, but they also can spread information in their communities in more like human and practical ways, and feeling make feel the community like part of something that can be done.
We need to build more and test out more of this collaboration to see what works better and how this type of fusion between journalism and different activists, different NGOs can bring important issues to the eyes and ears and minds of our fellow citizens. And we should amp up this, because you can see we have the social media networks that are flooded, and there's like the fatigue of information, and that brings a lot of negative influences. So I am definitely up for this type of collaboration, and as Emmanuel said, everybody can have its flavor of it, as long as we work in the benefit of citizens.